Hello again, welcome to European Autocross Studios 944 Turbo project. Still on the transmission. We're going to get the back half of the transmission put together, so except fifth gear, we'll do that next time, and then we're going to put it into the transmission case. One thing I got to tell you, I'm not happy with the condition of this transmission going back together because we're not replacing any parts, we're not cleaning anything, we're not painting anything. And it really just eats me up that we can't do this the way it's supposed to be done. But if you send me a transmission, somebody said they're going to send me their transmission. I even gave you my address. Hasn't showed up yet. Hopefully you'll send that to me. We'll do a real nice job on that. Give you a real good deal on it and get us a little bit of money so we can get some parts here. Get some tools. I didn't rehearse much today or at all. So let's get started on this. There's a few discrepancies I found in the assembly manual, the service manual, workshop manual, how to put this together. So I'm going to go through that as we get to these steps. It doesn't tell you to put reverse gear back in, but we have to put that back in before we start putting the input shaft in. So let's start with that. We have a relatively empty case. I didn't pull the detent out of reverse, the fifth reverse, because we're not cleaning it, we're not scrubbing it. Normally I put this in the machine if it was running, but it's not yet. Hopefully in a week or so. Keep saying that. Electricians are hard to come by, and they want to get paid, which is just out of control. So anyways, this is already assembled. We will get this back off the shelf and do more when we rebuild it. I want to definitely show you how to do the pinion depth, turning torque, backlash, all of that in the ring and pinion, but I just can't do it yet. So I apologize for that. All right, we're going to turn this way so you can see inside there a little bit better. We're going to install reverse gear. We already inspected it. It looks pretty good. They get a little beat up because the synchronizer ring is marginal. It will slow the gear down. It's just an idler. It doesn't do a whole lot, just sitting there waiting to go. So this will go in. We'll catch that, catch the little groove there for the lever. We have a cutout here. This must face outward towards the gear, towards the input shaft. That is cut out to allow clearance for the gear. Don't put it in backwards. It makes all kinds of weird noises. Ask me how I know that one. The spring, the little tang will come up through here. That is if I can get this in. It's kind of tricky to put in, but not too awful bad. Let's see if I can get it without too much trouble. Yeah. Try this way. There's a groove that it actually fits in the gear itself. And then, let's see if I can get this in there. Of course, I'm half blind, so I don't see there it is. My tang. I'm going to use the shaft just to hold that in place while I reposition the gear. Okay. So now it's in the little tabs. You can see my spring is here, the little tab sticking out there, and it's locked into the reverse synchronizer. We should be able to just send this one home. There we go. All right. Simple action. Doesn't do a whole lot, just up and down on the shaft. The shaft is held in with this plate. Put it on. Okay. There we go. Almost. We have a bolt that will hold that in there. This bolt, kind of the only one like it on the transmission. It's got a little bushing built into it, and that will keep us from moving around too much. Well, if you get it centered. There we go. So this will lock down, but still allow some movement. So this has some movement in there, and it's perfectly normal. The top spring here, this prevents, well, I'll show you what it does. This prevents the synchronizer ring from dropping all the way down. So when this is not engaged, you can see there's no pressure on the idler gear. If this wasn't here, it would drop all the way down. There's so little force on it, it's just a little spring, it doesn't do anything. Everything's kind of sloppy, but it all works perfectly fine. And you can see, I just noticed this, these are beveled at the ends, because if that's in there, the spring is actually sort of twisting it, you can see. So if it was a sharp edge, it might not want to go in reverse, but since those are beveled, it just pushes right up through the hole. So, pretty good. That's reverse engaged. Tight. Now, we didn't put a torque wrench on anything. We're not going to this time. If you're going to rebuild your own transmission, you know how torque specs are very important. We have all those. It's just not, for the interest of saving time in the video, in this case, we're just going to put it together so you can see the function and how everything works. Okay, we'll put the detents in now. Let's get this flipped over here. These are the detents that give you that snap action when you shift it. And the other little detents, or these little pill-looking things, this is what prevents it from going into two gears at once. So we can put this one in, my trusty magnet, my not so trusty screwdriver. So that's a whole nother story. And we have to put at least the center one in here, because we won't be able to put this in once the shaft is in. Okay. Okay, all the grease came off on the inside, so we'll just put a little more in there. And hold it right there. Okay. So now this one is in the middle. Now we can put our second detent in. My not so trusty screwdriver. All right. Because that pin will not go past that detent. We also have another pin that we'll put in on the top, and then the shaft will come in here, and then this one will go on the top of that shaft, and that puts spring tension on pretty much the whole works. And then our 3/4 pin that goes inside the shaft. All right, now since we're going to be putting in our fifth in reverse, we're going to put the second pin in. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so now we have one between these two, and we have one between the shaft and the shaft. And those get connected together with this one. Not this one. This one. This one. Will go inside there, and we'll keep that together in there with grease when we're ready. All right, don't need those. I'll explain these after. Something interesting about these two. So let's put in what's next here. We got to start with the fifth in reverse. This way. So we're going to slide the fifth in reverse shaft in, and it's going to go right in. And that's going to be, when you select the shifter to reverse, that'll be reverse. That's neutral, and then all the way in is fifth. See, there's no contact for fifth. It only catches fifth from neutral to fifth, back, and then that's neutral, and then fifth. So it disconnects from the back. So that's our fifth gear action right there. And you'll see it on the back how it actually engages fifth, and the throw that is reacting with that. All right. Let's see. Detents. Detents. I don't want to miss detents. Okay, pinion shaft is next. What the directions say is they want you to take this spring clip off because it's going to interfere as we try to angle the shaft in there. What I found, it's even this is going to get in the way. So I'm going to take this back off again, and I'll leave the reverse gear shaft in, but I am going to take this plate off out of the way because it will cause interference. Kind of forgot about that, but that's okay. All right, so we're going to assemble pinion shaft, and we're going to get this selector shaft through the hole with the detents. All right, let's see if I can get it in there first shot. Oh, and see, yeah, there's reverse here. Can you get it? Oh, we better engage reverse, like we're supposed to do. Okay. I want to get this past. A little tricky, but we got it. All right. And then because of the pointy end on the shaft, it'll push the lower detent that we put in, the spring-loaded one, right in place there. Okay. So that's in. I'm going to put reverse gear back together so we don't lose any parts. I don't think we will, but let's get this back together. Okay, there's our input shaft, and we have our selector rod is now being held in place in the center neutral position of the three. I showed you there were 3 spots on that one. Okay, now comes another interesting part. When it comes to the two caps here, we have what the book is trying to tell us and what is real here is 2 different things. And I've never really noticed. I don't usually follow the book step by step. I want to do it now because I'm a little rusty at these, and I want you to see what the pages are saying versus what we're actually doing, or exactly what we're doing. Could go either way sometimes, but that's okay. All right, so here's our fifth in reverse. There's our 1-2 shift rod. This is 3 and 4. 3 and 4 is the one that has the pin that goes through to connect the 2 little dowels inside there. So looking at this picture, this is pretty much what we're looking at here. This is the hole. This is the 3 detent spots, and this is the hole where the pin goes through to connect the 2 right here. You can see up here, this is the arrangement of the pins that we just put in. But the 3-4 rod has that pin inside. They're showing this rod, this shift rod, having the slot with the stopper bolt, or the cap that has the stop in it. That's not for this. I don't know why they're showing it like this. It's not in the normally aspirated one either. So, also, this is just a plug that'll just go inside here, and it just caps the hole. These are the holes that are used to bore the holes for the detents. This has a very large seal ring on it to give it, I imagine, clearance. But the paperwork is wrong here. So I did a little more research, and I came up with this. This is the parts book. Pardon my fingerprints all over everything. Bolt 17. I looked up the part number, and that is this bolt with the machine surface on it for a stopper to prevent the rod from going too far either direction. And this is also showing the same shift rod as this one. That's not correct. So I went to the manual where it shows these in the case, and this is correct. They're showing this one, which is the bolt that prevents this shaft from going too far back and forth, and then the regular stopper bolt. Now these, they're kind of out of the picture, you can't really tell, but these are actually way down inside. Those are the first things I put in. So they're on the other side of the shaft, and this is just on the top, with the shaft would go in the middle here. So this is correct in this picture, even though it's not a parts picture. It's showing you where they go, but the actual parts book, when you order parts, this is wrong. This should be on this shaft, and this one on this shaft. If you get my meaning. Yeah, something like that. Anyways, beware of these little mistakes when you put this together. So, this one, our 1-2 shift rod, will get the stopper. We can put that in right there. And that prevents the shaft from going too far in either direction. Alright, now, next, the input shaft. Alright, so a couple things we have to do before we install the input shaft. We've got our shifter fork, and we have to put our D10 pin in, but we're going to add a little grease in here to prevent that from falling out inside the transmission. There, and that'll stay in there while we're trying to get this thing put back together. Okay, 3/4 shift fork. This is going to go on over our selector rod here, our selector for first and reverse. Okay, so little trouble getting it in there, but okay. Remember, we had a little trouble before because we left our bearing race in there. All right, now we can slide our. Let me add a little bit of grease to this. That might help it go through. We got a little bit of a way to go through here, and our little D10 pin is in there, and right into here. Now, if this shift rod is not dead center, it's going to act like it's in gear, and it won't allow the shaft to go. That's what this whole detent assembly is for. So we have to sort of make sure that we're in a neutral position. Make sure everybody is in neutral, or it will not go in. So this one is not quite in the neutral position, so it's pushing that detent out. And this one's good. There it is. Just that little bit made a big difference. Okay. And there we go. So what was happening, our 1-2 shift rod was centered, but not the fifth and reverse. So that allowed that pin that prevents you from going in 2 gears at once, would not allow the shaft to go in. And that's how it prevents you from shifting 2 gears at once, accidentally. Alright, so we are getting close to our assembly point here. Look at that. I can get our first roll pin in right here. Get it started without dropping it. Probably not, but that's what I do. I guess we can put our cap on too. That's our one with the thick sealing washer, which goes on the correct correct hole there. Now we're going to try to get our detent pin started here. Not detent pin, roll pin. Detent's on the brain. So now we're just going to lock the fork on the shaft. I really don't have any way to counter hold this, but we're going to just gentle little taps to get it in there, and that will, come on, hold it all together. Okay. Nothing bent. Everything looks good. We'll flip this over, and that's our 1-2. This one's more flimsy. Everything's just a little too loose to shift it. Alright, let me see how I can counter hold that. Try again here. Okay, that's better. Alright, so there's the shafts installed. The reverse gear, everybody's in there. Let's swing this around and attempt to put our bearing race in. Oh, well, might as well put our top detent in. And that just locks it all together. Now everything would want to be centered. And if you look at this is where your shifter slot will come in, your shifter lever, and select each shaft to push, and you can see now they're nice and even. Mostly even. Everything's still kind of loose, but you can see they're all there lined up in a neutral state. And let's get our bearing race in here. Notice I don't really use big hammers. I just want to get, maybe all the way in. I think that's all the way in. Okay, next bearing race is in, snap ring. Come on. Oops. Snap ring with my untrusty screwdriver. Okay, and then thrust washer. So I'm going to just we're going to be moving this transmission around a little bit. I don't want anything lost, so we'll just put some grease on that to keep the thrust washer from falling off. And that's it for the back case. We have more to do with the fifth gear and the whole sliding collar assembly. But that's it in a nutshell. Normally this would be already painted the correct black and everything ready to go. It's unfortunate that we couldn't do it all the way we needed to. But it's all together. You got to see how it works. Fumbling about a little bit, but we got it. Trying to follow going by the directions to remind me of all the steps, and it's not so bad. Forget a couple things along the way, but we corrected that and got it all straightened out. But that's it. Next week we're going to put the back of this together and hopefully get it put back into the case along with the ring gear. And we're almost done with the transmission. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do for next week. If you like the episode with the fuse relay panel, we may try to put that back together. There's a couple things I have to do beforehand, a few things I have to repair on it. I'm going to take a look at that during the week and see if I can make that work for next week once our transmission is done. So, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. We finally got the Patreon set up. Lots of cool stuff going on there. We try to figure out the best way to give you the best value for your little extra support that we really appreciate. Try to give you a little extra, some crazy stuff that you're not really allowed to see yet. But if you want to join the Patreon at certain levels, you'll be able to see some of the craziness that goes on around here. And believe me, it's crazy stuff. We have a 360 camera that you may have had a taste of before. We showed interactive 360, so that's kind of fun. Along with some other antics that go on around here that are kind of fun. A lot of other projects that we're doing. Next week we have a Ferrari 308 to be disassembled. I got a Lamborghini Hurricane coming in for check engine lights, some other stuff like that. Stuff that we do a lot of this stuff that you don't get to see often. Our shop is really small, so there's a lot of cramps. It's really cramped and difficult to get around, but we'll show you all that on the background, what's happening. So thanks again. Take a look at the Patreon, see if it's something interested in. If not, it's okay. We appreciate you watching and commenting. Whatever you can do helps. We need tools, little here and there, so we can do our pinion depth. And I'm just going to keep babbling if I don't someone tell me to stop. So thanks again. Subscribe, like. We also noticed that a lot of you guys are watching without subscribing. So you guys, go ahead and hit that button. Don't be shy. We really appreciate it. So we'll see you next week. Bye.